Hello and welcome to our complimentary webinar, which is brought to you today in partnership with Freshworks, and it's entitled The Future of CX 2022, What You Can Expect and the Trends That Will Define CX in 2022. In the spirit of reconciliation, Auscontact acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Today's webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes, and during that time, with the help of today's special guests, Isabella and Sri, we will deconstruct 5 key trends around consumer and business behaviour that will define 2022. We'll learn how they drive customer loyalty and empower employees to become agents of delight. And finally, observe examples of brands that are adapting to stay ahead of the curve. And to round off the session, we'll be having a Q&A. I'm Fiona Keogh, CEO of Auscontact and your moderator for today. While we're waiting for everyone to join us, let's just quickly run through some housekeeping. Remember, it's important to interact with us to maximise the benefit. And as you know, there's no need to take too many notes because we'll be providing you with a recording of the webinar. To interact with us, please use the Q&A button on the control panel. You can ask questions or make comments for Isabella or Sri or myself from time to time. Remember, we are going to have that full Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please type your questions as we go along so you don't forget to ask them. If you have any technical difficulties, please note on the control panel you can click that yellow raise hand button and the Auscontact team will rush to your aid. Or you can revert to your registration confirmation email and all the relevant numbers and access codes will be available there for you. I know that most of you have been doing webinars for a heck of a long time and you know how to ask a question, but let's try out that Q&A button on the control panel now, just in case. And as always, I like to ask a complicated question. And the question for today is it raining where you are? So I can tell you where I'm located, which is not in Sydney, that it is raining. Steve has said not where he is, and he's on the complete opposite side. Kelly's not far from me, but I'm on the coast. So yes, very heavy where she is. Shadi, beautiful and sunny. Jealous. Sophie, not right now. Tony, not yet. Tracy, okay, not in country Victoria. Well done, guys. So everybody knows how to ask a question. So I'm actually going to put Isabella and Sri on notice that they're probably going to get some fantastic questions. So why don't we meet Shrilesh Pillai and Isabella Villani? Let me just introduce Shrilesh first and then Isabella. Shrilesh is the General Manager of Freshworks Australia and Isabella is the CEO of Exceed Global. Shri, would you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and Freshworks?
Sure. Well, very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much, Fiona, Isabel. So I go with Sri. It's just so much easier, Shrilesh, Sri. So I came to Australia 6 years ago to set up the company here in Sydney. Today, we've got offices in Sydney, in Melbourne. I started my career in the customer service space. So it's great to be, part of now an organization that makes software to provide for these great experiences. I love sharing and thus my part to play here. Thank you, Fiona, for the opportunity.
And Sri and Isabella.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isabella. I've been working in a customer experience realm, I suppose now, for about 20 years, so since I was 5. So I've written a couple of books on customer experience and I've had my own business consulting, doing training, recruitment in this space for over 10 years now. So very happy to be here today with Sri.
Well, it looks like we're going to be in good hands right throughout the webinar. So let's kick along a little bit. So let's find out about the future of customer experience. And I'll give you some background. So challenge and change defined 2020. We know that. And 2021 has been about accepting and adapting to the new normal. My goodness, how many times have we heard that term? But what does normal look like in the future? Physical constraints took consumers to digital platforms, which in turn forced businesses to redefine customer experience and meet them there. With the world opening up and the option of in-store experiences back in play, thank goodness, customer delight is taking a new form. Consumers have embraced the ease and convenience of engaging online while craving for the connection and empathy of personal interactions. For businesses, this reinforces the need for a seamless omnichannel strategy that speaks to the digital-first consumer, while all navigating a possibly permanent hybrid work environment. As we enter 2022, the age of digital-first service experiences, let's run through the 5 big trends that will dominate the year. There should probably be a drum roll, I think, as we start going forward. So, trend number 1, the new want it now culture dictates the terms. I'm feeling my children are talking here. In 2020, due to pandemic safety measures across the globe, customers had to quickly get used to transacting with their favourite brands online. This shift to digital channels meant that they also began to expect faster service from businesses. With an expected, wait for this number, 160% increase in the frequency of digital purchases, it has become a necessity to embrace a digital-first mindset. So we're actually going to get you guys to do a little bit of work through a poll. So we've launched the poll, and the question is, have you seen a significant shift in consumers demanding faster than ever service and responses? And the options are yes or no. It's a little bit subjective, but that's okay. So, Isabella, I want to put you on the spot first.
Yeah.
What are you hearing?
I think that they are demanding faster than ever service, but a key thing around that is a lot of people have been home or have more time on their hands to explore digital channels. So Fiona, you made a key point. They shop for their favourite brands online. So there's lots of organisations that potentially supply those brands. So they are shopping around, and in the past, our focus a lot was on price plus postage. But now you see consumers actually looking at how long is that delivery time. And that timeliness around that has then been linked to some really big players in the field, such as the Amazons of the world, who are able to put that instantaneous feeling around purchasing that has really caused a shift in the market, that has made people realise they can get it now. And we're talking about a consumer base that are already impatient, and timeliness is also key. But then they're delivering on that timeliness. So then it's putting a lot more pressure on other suppliers or shops or retailers in the market to deliver that timeliness experience. That's from a product perspective. And from a servicing perspective, people are doing a lot of their, I suppose, life admin. So they're ringing, they're looking at how much their insurances cost, they're doing renewals, and rather than just renewing because they're time poor, they've got the time to shop around. So even that experience of wait times and speaking to experienced people has sort of bubbled to the surface as well. So they're transacting a lot, whether it be a product perspective, but then from a service perspective, they're probably interacting a lot more because they've got more time on their hands because they aren't out there traveling the world and seeing family members and friends. So they're sort of stuck at home. So in effect, all organisations kind of have a captive audience.
Thanks, Isabella. And I think our audience actually agrees. So Jess, if you could share the results of the poll, that would be superty duper. 90% said, yes, we've seen a significant shift. So there you go. We're all in a similar boat. So let's keep moving along. I'm feeling like I'm going to do an impersonation of Tom Cruise. I feel the need for speed. Maybe we are all saying that. I don't know. So let's give you some really hard data. We love numbers. We're contact centre people. So Freshworks surveyed over 4,500 businesses and analysed 107 million customer interactions to understand the key driver of customer satisfaction. And the data showed that speed of service had the highest impact on CSAT scores. Today's customers want to receive support through any channel they can grab onto immediately, especially if they are on the go. It could be via an app, messaging platform, or website. The new want it now mindset that dominates online customer service interactions is likely to bleed into other channels as well. Shri, given that you guys did this survey, you know the answer to all of the questions. Love to hear some more about it.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Fiona. Well, 90% there, the last poll saying it, right? So we never set out to find out, how much speed factors into great CSATs. But what we did is we looked at 107 million support interactions and started looking at CSAT scores, resolution times, response times. And what do you know? The whole white paper with all this data is called What Do Customers Really Want? I highly recommend a read. It must be there on the website somewhere. If not, we will send it to you. So what do your customers really want? After analyzing those 107 million support interactions, it really came down to speed, right? As an example, for every 12 hours of delay in your first response time, CSAT scores decreased by 9.6%. Lots of fascinating stats in that particular white paper, but I'd also like to point our attention to the content in this slide, right? So what's the ideal support interaction? Which interactions have great CSAT scores? It's just 2+1, where there's actually more customers talking, less agents or customer service heroes talking. It's really first time response and resolution that people want. Those are the times when you get great CSAT scores. And why is that? It's exactly what Isabella also said. People now have time in their hands. They're looking at solving things for themselves, and only when they cannot are they reaching out for help. And if you can resolve it then and there, that's when you get great CSAT scores. So a combination of need for speed, responding soon, as well as resolving it right then and there at the point of reach out.
Yeah, I think we're all very time poor, even though, as Isabella said, we're in inverted commas stuck at home. There's always other things that are more fun that we could be doing. So let's talk about trend number 2, which is seamless omnichannel experiences trumping physical digital patchwork. So customers have the option of engaging through a number of channels, traditional like phone and email, or physical in-store. How good is it to go in-store at the moment? And digital, that is website, app, live chat, etc. And it's really hard to predict their journey. They might see an ad on Instagram, or I'm seeing them on TikTok, and move to the website, chat with an agent, and visit a physical store before finally making a purchase. And then they take to social media to share their experiences. Oh my goodness. They expect to be able to shift channels at any point in their journey. So you can see both sides of this table, say 38%. Consumers visiting a store or a service centre of a brand now expect more. They expect brands to put data from prior digital engagements, demographic profile, etc., to work in delivering a hyper-personalised experience. They expect to have conversations that are steered based on a knowledge of them and their preferences. This blurring of lines between physical and digital experiences also makes consumers less forgiving of businesses that don't get omnichannel service right. Isabella, give us some insights.
We talk about the concept of personalisation. I think that's gone to a next level of individualisations. So customers now know you have a lot of data about them. We're doing far better targeted EDMs to them and product and services offering on their Facebook pages or whatever it might be. So they do expect that level of, you know who I am, so I don't want to have to repeat myself, and also read my mind. You probably even know why I'm contacting you, particularly if you've proactively contacted me, whether it be you sent me a statement or a bill, or you've sent me an offer or a campaign. So they are sort of piecing the puzzles together. The other aspect about that, we talk about omnichannel, and I've been speaking about this for a long time, that a great customer experience is a seamless and consistent customer experience across all customer channels and touch points. So just like they are joining the dots and they interact with us multiple channels, they want all of those channels to be integrated and consistent, fast, and that links back to personalization. You should know what I'm doing and where I'm at. So they're far less forgiving than they've ever been now because of the advancements of technology and the experiences they are getting. And I'm not talking about with your competitors, but I'm talking about generally in the market in that channel. And that's what they're comparing to you. The best of the best in that channel and how they interact is how they want interactions to be like that. We also talk about the concept of first contact resolution. That is always been important, but customers now are more impatient, they're more informed, and they want to be empowered. So not only is first contact resolution really on the forefront, they're starting to get the idea, and I'm seeing this in Voice of the Customer programs, next contact avoidance is sort of becoming in their awareness. Now, they're not using that jargon, but they're saying, oh, they were able to help me with this inquiries and all of them. They themselves are using words in verbatim feedback, like the agent was able to help me on my journey. I didn't have to contact again. I was able to resolve the inquiry once. So they're understanding the concept of first contact resolution, but I'm starting to see them with that increased awareness around what we call next contact avoidance. So I think that's something that we need to be mindful of as well.
Thanks, Isabella. It's a bit like managing unstated needs, like because you understand the process and what's likely to happen next is being able to take the customer with you. Shri, I'd love your thoughts on this as well, if you could.
Sure, Fiona. I think I'd share this. So obviously, as vendors, we're being stretched by, VP of customer experiences across the globe, and I'd love to share this one episode where this senior VP of a banking institution told us that, we love your bot, but what could you do if, based on the last form that this consumer had filled out, and if they had said no to a loan, can we prevent that particular loan, the chat widget, from providing the option of a loan? Right? So forget that. Do not present that loan option to the consumer. And then can we recycle it so that every 6 months after they say no, can they bring that option again by default automatically, right? So I think it's we're now in a phase where we need to be, subtle about the information that we have about the consumer, the individual, present options that respect the information that the individuals already provided to us, and then also know that you're running a business. So the loan option is great for business, right? But when is it? Is it a 6-month time window? Is it a 1-year time window? Based on the culture, on the business trajectory, it's for you to really be careful about when you want to bring that loan option again on the chat widget. So it's very interesting times we live in, but it's great to have, people think out for the customer and then challenge the tools, processes, and systems to be thinking for a great customer experience.
So I just wanted to add to Shree's point, the great thing that he's mentioned about bots, and this is a benefit because it's automated, it's not a human being. You can create business rules in the bots, and you can look at adding business rules to provide upsell or cross-sell opportunities where you feel it'll add value to the customer. and organisations are becoming a lot more clever and doing research to say, we know that generally speaking, around this much after they get product A, we find that we're successful with upselling or cross-selling product B. So all of that, all those insights that we're getting, we can then feed into bots and provide those really good options or offers that have a good uptake, but at the same time are adding value to the customer. So it's not just about sales, they're knowing when it's valuable to a customer. So I think that they're sort of that mindset around what's important to the customer at that moment in time that the customer sees as beneficial or valuable, rather than why on earth would I want that at this moment in time, or why would I even want that product? So I think they're making a lot more informed decisions, and having technology like bots are great because you can program it so it's consistent and accurate in regards to timing.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, there's nothing more frustrating than being told no to something and then being offered it in the next week. And then I would be putting on my caps lock and shouting at the bot about, what is it you don't understand? You said no, why are you offering me this? Yeah, it just avoids all that frustration. So I'm not frustrated. I'm happy to go on to trend number 3. Let's do it. So it's about messaging and mobile first conversations, redefining delight. So we know consumers appreciate the ability to continue conversations at their own pace on an app that they already use. Apple Business Chat, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp and Line Chat are emerging as the go-to channels of engagement. Offering consumers the familiarity of messaging and the convenience of engaging on a mobile device is helping brands foster deeper bonds that drive loyalty. And isn't that what we all want? So this graphic shows that 68% of WhatsApp users believe it's the most convenient way to engage with a brand. 60% reduction in overall cost interaction over calls, and 20% reduction in call volumes noticed by businesses on introducing Apple Business Chat for service. So if you look at those numbers, it actually makes perfect business sense. Traditional channels like phones are far more expensive to operate. In contrast, though, messaging channels are shown to slash up to 60% of cost per customer interaction, and of course, enabling those really talented people that you've been having in those telephone conversations to go on to other great things in their career path. So I'd like to open up a discussion with Sri and then ask Isabella to share her thoughts. Sri, over to you.
Sure. I think this particular slide is really the stars aligning for the consumer as well as, businesses. So for the business, how much more sense is it, instead of having these one-to-one conversations on the phone, if they could have one-to-many conversations, obviously, you can have more conversations, and that is great for business. One person can look after 5 customers. For the consumer, now I'm used to my WhatsApp. I love speaking to my granny on it. I want to speak to my brands on it too, right? Why not? I want to speak to you over WhatsApp. So consumers demanding it, businesses, seeing, cost reductions from it. And now it's really, stars aligning. So go forth. And then what many people do, may sometimes miss is going from phone to text is huge, because there are so many other efficiencies and learning that happens, even whether it's bot systems that learn easier from text-based chat, or even, commonly shared, frequently asked questions that can now be put into the chat. A lot of knowledge in the agent's head can now be presented over FAQs, all of that shared together. So a lot of, for me, this slide, like I said, stars aligning. We're now getting into what consumers want and what businesses would love to provide. So expectations, over the top today.
Thanks, Sri. Isabella.
So when I look at this, I found the data interesting because there's sort of 2 perspectives here, an organisational perspective and then a customer or consumer perspective. So from a organizational perspective, why invent the wheel with your own chat technology and integrate it into your channels when we already have best of class chat technology available? So, you chat on a thing, it refreshes the screen and you're still chatting. So that's one aspect around that organizational perspective. On the flip side, customers feel more comfortable interacting in apps that they're using all the time. So even if you think about uptake, so if you can do it in their channel, number one, they're more likely to engage. And the other thing is they're more likely to be familiar with it. They're used to multitasking. So I think that's, about that WhatsApp aspect. Then if we look at the reduction in cost over calls, yes, that's there and that's great from a business's perspective. But then from a customer's perspective, if you think about this thing we call a mobile telephone, how often are you using that telephone as a phone? We're not. We're on Messenger, we're on chat, we're texting, we're online, and we're filling in forms. So the actual behavior on a mobile device is beyond telephone now. And also, I don't know, I am a bit old school and sometimes I do pick up the phone, but people are texting a lot more. It's convenient, it's easy, they are multitasking. So it's easier for them to chat, for example, than be on the phone if they're in a noisy environment or if they're doing multiple things. So I see that flip side. On the concept of chat in general, I think we link back to that instantaneous, back to that first trend, the need for speed. I used to say email is, the grandfather of email is fax, but then I go the great grandchild of fax and email, and then email is chat. It's instant, it's fast, it's what platforms are doing. If you even think about it internal in your organizations, I would dare say there'd be research to support the fact that the use of your chat platforms such as Microsoft Teams would be increasing and your emails to some degree hopefully decreasing. So there is that instantaneous around it all, that availability, that now factor.
Yeah, I think you're right, Isabella. And that goes back to the we want it now mindset. If you don't have that easy access and that instant gratification, for want of a better term, you're way behind the eight ball. So let's keep moving and get on to trend number 4. And trend number 4 is about agent empowerment driving customer delight. So let's hear a little bit more about that. So as you all know, agents have had to face the brunt of the recent pandemic-induced upheavals and actually really continue to do so, certainly here in Australia. They've had to deal with soaring query volumes, increasing customer anxiety, adapting to a remote work environment. Leaders have started to recognise this and reprioritise the well-being of their teams to a greater and lesser extent, just depending on what organisation you're in. They're relying on technology to tackle the threat of burnout and empower employees to become agents of delight. So again, we're going to ask you guys to contribute, and this is really, really subjective. Have you seen improvements in customer delight as a direct result of agent empowerment? So, Shri, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're not allowed to give the answer away. But what are you expecting to see?
Okay, so I'd like to maybe as people think up for this poll, empowerment is on multiple planes, right? It can be the culture, a culture of enablement, empowerment, where the frontline rep can decide about a refund, let's say as an example, right? Number 2, the process in the company should allow for that, right? So you could have maybe the frontline provide 5% discount, based on what's happening on the ground, and maybe the manager do 10%, etc. So processes in a company should allow for that. And then obviously the tools that can allow for, empowering, not just from a discount perspective, but also, does the frontline know the various experiences that this customer went through before asking or having to be in this position of providing a refund or a discount, etc. Right? So empowerment to me is a very heavy word, right? And I think I always sit with a lot of colleagues as well as customers and discuss how we could make life easier both for the frontline as well as the customer. And as you participate in this poll, please think of all these levels of empowerment, and then just appreciate how far that can go in terms of creating a great customer experience.
Brilliant. Well, so let's close the poll. And would you believe it? 80% have said they're seeing improvements in customer delight. So, Sri, I'd like to put you back on the spot again because I can. How do the results, especially with what you hear from the many customer service leaders that you work with, does that absolutely correlate with what you hear?
Yes, very much. In fact, when as vendors, when we go forth with technology advice, many times it is also a bit of culture enabling that we want to, or rather an education of how other teams are able to do this. How customers are seeing the need for speed, and how the end result, what are the various possibilities of ways of work, right? And for in that discussion, in that open discussion that we have with customers, empowerment both from a cultural standpoint, a trust standpoint, processes, tools, customer 360, it touches multiple factors. And I think it's one of the most passionate as well as eye-opening discussions that could happen, whether it's with a vendor, a tool vendor, or at the board, or within the team. So I think these discussions are of top importance, especially when you realize that what are we doing, what is all this for? It is for the consumer, who is asking for that need for speed. And then when you realize that, what was that stat? Forrester said uh, every organization that does better in their CSAT scores has an average of 14% more revenues coming in. So it's for the customers, it's good for business. So these empowerment discussions, the earlier that they've been done, the better, because then lots of possibilities open up.
Thanks, Sri. I think you're bang on the money. So let's keep moving because this slide has quite a bit of richness sitting in behind it. So 1 out of 3 leaders, so we've got 3 leaders here, believe that building new generation digital platforms to help customer-facing teams work better is a top digital investment priority. So let's talk about the first one, which is cut repetitive tasks for agents and allow them to focus on customer relationships. Customer engagement platforms are changing the nature of an agent's workday. Efficiency features like AI-based ticket classification and automatic routing of incoming customer contacts to the right agents can save per agent up to 1.2 hours per day. And it frees agents to do what they actually do best, which is what you employ them to do, which is to delight your customers. Secondly, slashing workloads whilst elevating CSAT. So sometimes that would seem to be a bit of a friction, really. With more customers frequently reaching out to businesses, increasing contact volumes can overwhelm an agent. Every 100 extra monthly tickets, for example, per agent can lead to a 1% drop in CSAT scores. So think about that. So enabling robust self-service resources and AI bots can help ease this heavy burden. And lastly, but no less important, is helping your agents stay connected while remote. And hasn't this really been the focus over the last 18 months or so? Agents might not have the option of in-person discussions with their colleagues. They need engagement software with powerful native collaboration tools that can integrate with communication platforms like Slack or Teams or whatever it is you happen to be using to help them to stay on top of their jobs and bring all hands on deck. It can also help agents save up to 120 clicks per day. Isabella, you know I'm going to ask you about this first, and then I'm going to get Shree's thoughts as well.
Yeah, thanks, Fiona. So we spoke about empowerment before. It is a great word. It's always been around empowering our customers, and I'm seeing that flip to empowering our people. So there is a lot underneath the word of empowerment. So in order for our staff to feel empowered, they need to have information at their fingertips. We need to care. You can't have a great customer experience without a great employee experience. So we know the impact on customer experience when we do things like give them bigger workloads, incorrect training and information, impacting, for example, first contact resolution. So yeah, repetitive tasks. If you imagine your job every day, I talk about that, about eliminating white noise. We have amazing AI technology out there at the moment, and the stuff I'm seeing in the world of bots is really picking up that repetitive task that then links as well to less human error, so better customer experience, not just because our staff are more satisfied because we've eliminated the mundane tasks and giving them more high quality work, but because it just is easy and it's repetitive, and we can use technology to understand business and a lot more. And in regards to workloads, that links a lot around utilization as well, and occupancy. So we always talk about the magic number in, contact centres is 75-80% occupancy. In some centres, I'm seeing that it needs to drop down even to 70%. Or it impacts customer experience, it impacts first contact resolution. It also has things like higher unplanned absences, so a lot more of colds and flus running around the office than may be really happening. I'm thinking about workloads, and allocation of tasks to even it up is really important. And collaboration is important because it's teamwork. Shree mentioned earlier about self-care, not self-service. I want to be able to do it at myself in the time of my choice. But if I can't, I want to know I can ask someone for help. Well, they're almost, in my mind, internal customers, so that rule still applies. So having great collaboration tools where there's information available on your fingertips is really important, but it's also educating the person, therefore empowering them, not just doing it for them, so the next time it happens, they don't have to ask again. And that makes them more independent and therefore empowered, because they're getting job satisfaction, because they're doing their job, they're doing it well, and they're not asking for help all the time, and they're not always making mistakes or having those repeat contacts from customers that impacts, for example, their quality and coaching conversations. So I think it's a holistic view in that CX ecosystem that pulls out these key stats.
Brilliant, thank you, Shree.
I'll take the baton from there, Isabella. When you said about how see, just like consumers are now great on WhatsApp, we employees, team members, we're now loving Slack and Teams. We're collaborating on these platforms. So there's a lot of whether it's brain discussions or even other integrations that Slack and Team have about the, whether it's customer information or internal systems. So when we say collaboration, it should also be that just like how you provide the options for your consumers to reach out over WhatsApp, one should also provide the option for our team members to have the knowledge and the integrations with the everyday tools like Slack and Teams into their, customer facing management systems, so as to be able to answer quick. No more are we tapping the shoulders of our colleagues. We're all sitting at home. No more, do we have these great discussions happening, whether it's one-on-one or over lunch. So all of these discussions are now, for good or not, happening on Slack. And thus these integrations are very, right now, table stakes for customer service teams today.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, because you're not sitting together, and when you're having a more complex or difficult conversation with a customer where you could previously give visual cues about how you were feeling, and your fellow workmates would go, it's okay, or your team leader could catch you doing something really, really good, or be there to support you when you were feeling down. You don't have that. So you really do need those tools where people, have permission or empowered. Permission's not a great word, but you create a safe environment is what I'm trying to say, to actually share how they're feeling and share where they need to have support, because you don't know that tyranny of distance and those lack of visual cues that we rely on as human beings are not there when people are at home. Can you believe it?
I'll quickly add on, so when I'm in office, I'm not as emotive as when I'm on Slack. I never knew I'd be that way, because now I'm actually announcing on Slack that, I'm taking care of the kid, do not reach out. I'm not having a great day, or, I'm having a fab day. I think I can, I can solve anything. Give me all your problems, So I think possibly a few people are even more expressive over Slack and digitally than actually being, in person.
Yeah, so you're amplified when you're on Slack. Possibly I would be a nightmare, but we won't talk about that. So let's go to trend number 5. Experiences moving from automation to prediction, and I know Bella touched on this earlier, from taking over manual activities from agents to helping them handle volumes. AI-powered chatbots have great efficiency tools. Now, businesses are starting to explore how their investment can go the extra mile to elevate customer and agent experiences. So, 7%, brands have reported that 7% increase in CSAT scores as a result of successful bot implementations. 1 out of 3 leaders that have implemented AI state that optimizing it to predict customer needs and deliver personalised experiences is a key consideration for driving the return on investment. So what we're saying is smart bots can automate, smart bots can predict customer behaviour, scale customer service and deliver delight. And businesses are actually beginning to realise that bots can keep pace with customer demands efficiently and with a personal touch. So here's where we need to get some more out of AI. And again, there's a lot in behind this slide. So firstly, automating the right kind of queries. So it's not automate everything, right? Most bots are capable of tackling basic repeat queries like, what's your refund policy? Complex, unique queries are better left to human agents. The opportunity lies in building bot decision trees, and Bella, you talked about this, that can tackle user-specific queries like, where's my order? Or, when will I receive my refund? Secondly, learning to quality of conversations. The more a bot learns, the smarter it gets. They're just like another agent at the end of the day. Studying successful agent-customer interactions can help a bot respond with greater accuracy. The practice of setting up a deflection team to monitor and enhance bot performance is also gaining steam, although I don't like the word. I'm going to say I don't like the word deflection team. It kind of says, I don't want to talk to my customer. I'll kind of go there. Businesses like PhonePe, India's largest payments app, have successfully automated 80% of their incoming customer queries with bots and simplifying how agents work. Customer-facing bots are everywhere, and we all know that. Now, agent assistant bots are likely finding their place in the sun. AI features like process automation for repetitive support tasks or article suggestions for next step can be an agent's superpower. Okay, Shree, what are you thinking? And then we'll find out more from Isabella.
Again, I'll pick from something that I've seen many businesses not really make full use of. So whenever automation or bots is considered, people always, well, many always consider a chatbot, a customer facing chatbot, but there's a bigger minefield when you're trying to automate it for your team, or automate for your team very easy examples of automatically categorizing the tickets, the incoming tickets, automatically, whether it's in a round robin format or skills based, assigning tickets to the right person, right? As soon as it's in. So the next best action, the agent assist bot, depending on what tickets come in, can actually suggest the next best action to the agent. Hey, ask for this. If this is the answer, consider this. So a lot of automation can also be implemented for your team members just as much as for your consumers. And I think and sometimes I would even recommend maybe start with that first, because many times team members unfortunately see automation or chatbots as replacing them. No, why don't you do something for your team members, help them realize the benefits of automation, and then they will really be the champions. They will be sharing stories of, what, 20% of our consumers on Monday afternoon, this is their question, can be automated for them. They're going to be equal partners in your scheme of things. And I suggest, the more you work for your team members benefit as well in the world of automation, they will also partner with you for your consumers.
Fantastic. Isabella.
Excellent, Shree. I have this concept when you're doing anything and like that involves change or transformation, you don't want to get buying, you want to get ownership. And by co-designing a bot or asking them, takes them on that journey so they can understand it and gives you that opportunity to download or educate them along the way on the benefits of a bot. And the thing around design is really important up front. So if we can do that, but then you almost hand over to the bot or the technology to provide you with those amazing insights and reporting that you actually look at to go, how do we improve the bot or apply it to other sort of inquiries, for example. But I think it's a realistic view to have, whether it's internal or internal, to know what it can do and what it's capable of, and setting it up for success as well, not just by the design, but also what types of inquiries you select. And I do see, as the technology is advancing, the capability of the bots will be able to do more over time. So, you think about what they were doing, 5 years ago or 10 years ago compared to how we're using them now, for example. I mentioned it around, or eliminating the white noise. So from a processing perspective, and here we're talking about from an interaction perspective, whether it be within the business or external to our customers. So I think there's plenty of opportunity to apply it. We just need to have an open mind and a considered approach, and pick really good partners that will help you on that journey as well.
Yeah, and isn't that important, that you have the right partner? I just love thinking about your bot as being another agent. They require coaching, they require training, they require the same support, but they never get sick, and they're always there. So, I think that's the difference. So UPL isn't part of what they do. So let's move on a little bit, and we were going to go and run a poll in the background about whether you'd like to have a personalised Fresh Desk conversation. But while that's going on, Shree, I was going to ask you, I know we said Q&A first, but I saw all of these brands on this slide and I really gravitated to it. Couldn't help myself, of course, because we were talking about brands, so there I was, back in the brand state. Do you want to share some comments about this particular slide, and then we'll go to Q&A? How does that sound?
Sure. Very happy to talk about our customers. So absolutely. So you're looking at, customers of Freshworks here in Australia and New Zealand. I personally know a bunch of them, great champions, taking up technology to make great experiences, not just for the consumers, but also for their team members. So the previous poll question is about Fresh Desk. So Fresh Desk is an omnichannel CX solution. So that's part of our customer experience suite of products. We also have employee experience, suite of products, which is Fresh Service. And then we have, tools for sales teams, a CRM, right? So, well, back to our brand. So we've got close to 3,000 customers here in Australia and New Zealand, 50,000 globally. In fact, I should mention this. Our very first customer was from Perth, Atwell College from Perth. So we got a thing, we really love Australia, New Zealand. It was our third office, and one of our youngest, and I'm particularly proud of this bunch of people, both in Sydney and Melbourne. We're doing great things. Some of our customers have won awards. Well, the logo is not there, but the City of Marion recently won an award for the best collaborative service desk, and nothing like when consumers win awards. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sri. So let's get on to some questions, and have been quite a few coming in, which is great. And Gabrielle asked a question really, really early on. It was probably a little bit politically interesting, shall we say. And she wants to know, because we talked about using, Facebook and WhatsApp and all sorts of other applications. And the comment was, what about Facebook, etc., owning all your data? Sri, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, see, I'm also very concerned, citizen today. I'm a very concerned consumer as well, and such questions are definitely natural to anyone. And when we know that CX leaders themselves are consumers, then is when you think, hey, I should be asking the question. So, dear, XYZ brand, you have this data of mine, well and fine. You'll probably use it, to my benefit. Now, if I ever feel that, you're not using it to my benefit, can I please request that you purge or delete all the data that you have of me? So such questions we're seeing very, I'd say very commonplace today. And whether it's GDPR or, other, not just technology, in terms of privacy laws, they're fast tracking such thoughts. And as vendors, as brands, we also need to be, aware. And thus you need to provide your systems, your processes to be able to consider that request of, deleting all the data hosted. And then you should also be very transparent in sharing that, hey, dear customer, these are the things that we had, and no more do we have them. So I think, for a loyal customer, you first need to ensure that they trust you with their data. For that trust, you need to transparently tell them what you host, as well as, how you can stop the hosting.
Absolutely. So we do have a question from Michelle, and I know Isabella is keen to answer this one. She said, we're about to introduce web chat into our website. Is it fair to say we would see a reduction in calls because of this?
Yes. So my answer, if you wanted a one-word answer, is yes. So, but my mind is, what are you enabling your staff or empowering them to do on that web chat channel? So can they have visibility, for example, if someone's stuck on a form, that they can see where they're at on that form and actually guide them through a particular form or process. So it's how you're applying it would be yes. So you would generally see that improvement as well. I just wanted to say about, web chat, we talk about mobile on websites. People are more happy as well to chat while they're doing something else. So they could be at work, they could be on a Zoom. So you're finding now, because we're time poor, we're multitasking. So yeah, it's easier to have a chat conversation rather than a phone call. So I would be doing things and considering things to stop those calls coming in is, what's that timeout? How long are you going to wait for a chat to be idle before you say, sorry, we think you've gone, bye-bye, sort of thing. So using those metrics and those insights, so understanding that, working with your partners on what's best practice. And the other thing is tools or products like Freshworks products, whereby it's an omni-channel with integration. Yes, so if they're interacting in that chat channel, if they are ringing, the information's there and available. So you should see a reduction in that inquiry type from a perspective of AHT, but you might find your calls drop, but your AHT increases, is because they're complex inquiries or customers who want that longer explanation, that verbal interaction. So you might find your calls drop for a while, but the volumes increase. So you'll see all these trends. So the main thing is when you're doing your implementation, to have really good reporting and data, and have, you know, someone in your business who can look at that and develop insights. We need to focus on this. We need to change our you know, different parameters within the application. Or you know, staff don't know how to do this on a chat, or it's too complex. So how do we train them or simplify a process so it can be done in a chat channel, that it doesn't end up resulting in a phone call? So having an understanding, if calls were in that chat platform, why was it transitioned to the phone channel? Was it too complex? Was there business rules surrounding that? I worked with an organisation who didn't really allow that much to happen in chat. They actually were almost using it as a warm sales channel, because they wanted to close or do that sale in that contact center, you know, with a live agent speaking to the person. So it's sort of having that holistic view around the channel. But if you want a one-word answer, yes.
That was a long way to a one-word answer, but thank you.
Very Michelle was grateful. Thanks, Michelle. I just saw your great answer. Thank you.
Sri, I've got one for you. And this is how long is a piece of string, but that's okay. We've got that. How would you recommend businesses manage support volume surges? AI, automation, chatbots, self-services. Is there one direction to go in? Is there a 1D?
Can I go with the short answer of no, there is no one? But no, it's really a combination. It's always going to be a combination. I love Michelle's question. You know, there's a team that met me and said, we're launching the live chat on the website. Can we just remove the phone number from our website? Right. So at least Michelle's not thinking of removing it and reducing calls because of removing it, right? So I think, you know, as the strategists, we need to really understand our consumers, the type of channels that they're using, the frequently used channels, the demographic. It's really a complex, it's how long is that string, you know, question. So, but I'm seeing today, at least the trend is that where people are using a lot of self-service. We have time in our hands, you know, let's let the customer help themselves. And from that great self-service, you can use bots, because that's the next play. Without self-service, you can't have great bots. So if there's someone who's not yet began on self-service, I'd highly recommend self-service, because it's really empowering the customer as well as your team. I'd always start with self-service.
Fantastic. Well, I can't believe it. We've only got time for closing remarks from both of you. So Isabella, if we could start with you, closing thoughts.
I think we need to have an open mind and continue to be curious. So I commend you for coming along to events like this to hear what is happening in the marketplace. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation with colleagues, peers, if you recognise any names in any platforms that you're working with online. Freshworks have given you an opportunity now. Find out what is best practice, and then work out in a business how close you can get to that. And if you can't get to best practice, what can you, for everything, what's important for your customers, and try to get those key things right for them. That's my lasting thoughts. Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks, Isabella. And Shri.
Lasting thoughts, I mean, that's hard. But I think, you know, cliche as it sounds, as long as you have the customer in mind, right, then you start being passionate about how can I fix this for the customer. Now, I'd also recommend also have your team member in mind, because, you know, when you also think for your team member, the customers, things happen. So both your customer as well as your team member work around that, you know, day in, day out, and the rest will just fall in place. Thank you very much, Fiona, for the opportunity, and really good to have these questions coming in. You really have a passionate community at Auscontact.
We have the best community at Auscontact, just saying. Sheree, thank you so much, and to Freshworks for wanting to partner with us to make this webinar happen, and to Isabella for being back with us again.
Hello.
Lovely to see you after a couple of years, and for all your wonderful insights. And to everybody that joined us today, thank you for taking an hour out of your very busy calendars, especially towards the end of the year when you now have freedom. Stay safe and see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.